learn to be able to, as it were, take advantage of and reposition ourselves for compliance and avoid compliance issues. I think we did a lot of justice to that topic last week. And so this week we are continuing, but we're looking at tax rebate, tax holidays for businessmen and salaried workers. We want to start the conversation with, again, our accountant on Paul, my very good friend. So before we go there, let me quickly introduce the panelists. Emmanuel, okay, Mandy is on. Mandy, you are welcome. So let me spotlight Mandy and then we can continue. Okay, so Emmanuel, oh, Mandy, you pick it up from here.
Please, let's end with what you are doing so that I could pick up from there. Thank you.
That's fine.
Good afternoon.
So we'll first of all have Emmanuel, who's our accountant on call. Emmanuel is a very experienced accountant with over 9 years of experience. We go way back. Emmanuel was actually my first ever roommate I had in a university. And so we go, I can attest to his level of experience, knowledge, and level-headedness. Thank you, Emmanuel, for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate you being available to us. Thank you very much. I'll move to Mr. Abudu. I'm trying my best to not call him his nickname because we've been friends from secondary school. He's now a very seasoned economist working with, I don't know if you'd be comfortable mentioning the ministry he works with, but then he's working in one of the ministries heading their economic. And so almost all the economic reforms you're seeing now, he's very much invested in those decisions. So we're very happy to have you, Mr. Michael Abudu. If you hear any other name from my mouth about him, don't listen. Thank you very much for joining us. We have on the call Mr. Justice Ajay Ashia. I hope I got the name right. He's a seasoned finance person. He comes with years of experience in the banking and finance industry. And so today our major ask of him is going to be how to advise businesses, how to position themselves financially in the wake of their tax rebates. Once they are having their tax rebates and they are not paying so much taxes, what should they do with their monies? How should they position themselves so that after maybe the 2, 3, 4, 5 years you've not paid taxes, those taxes you've not paid, how do you take advantage of it as a company to make profits? Thank you very much, Justice, for joining us. And then our star of the show today, Fusua Odukwating. Fusua comes to us as an entrepreneur who has actually been awarded 5 years tax holiday. And so for the next 5 or so years, she's not going to be paying taxes. She's particularly on this call to help us understand her lived experience so that anybody who wants to apply for say with this particular practical example, she can be able to, or he or she can be able to follow the examples and be able to apply for tax rebates, tax holidays as a business person. And so these are the very seasoned men and women on this call today, and not forgetting our host or moderator who has joined us in Mandy Rebu. Okay, I think I've done your job for you, so we can pick it up for you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. So as we promised everyone today with the second with day 2 of our TaxWise SME TaxWise SME edition. And today we would be talking about all the things that everybody was so excited to hear us talk about today. So the conversation today is not just about opportunities, because what we came about to understand last week was that many businesses have heard about the tax incentive about holidays, but then we also realized that only a few of them understood how it truly worked. Only like a few were able to, only a few know how to qualify. If let's take this whole Ghana as our research population, you would see that only a few know how to qualify for these things. And so it's a great opportunity for us to have our speakers that we have today talk to us on these things, tell us how to, truly work with these tax incentives, the rebates, how to qualify for them, how to use them wisely. So the session today is designed to bring policy, to bring practice, to bring law, finance, and then lived experience into our conversation. So once again, you are all truly welcome. Speakers, I think I would really like us to start our conversation today, because last week when we ended, people were quite happy to be back today to learn about all the incentives. But then our conversation today, the arc is going to be in such a way that it would be understandable for everybody that joins today, whether they know the tax terms or whether they don't know. The conversation is going to be so structured in a way that at the end, everyone goes away with the information that we are supposed to carry across. So we would be first talking about why the tax incentives exist in the first place. Then we would know who it benefits and who is left out, where we come to understand the reality of these tax benefits. Come to talk about why the incentives exist and then where they do exist at. Then we'll talk about the money question. How do you use the incentives well? Then we talk about some of the compliance guardrails, how to be protected. And then we would end our conversation by, I think we have the next 2 hours to do that. And so my speakers, I think for my first question, I believe that it would go so well for our economist here, Mr. Michael. So, Mr. Michael, please, I would want you, anybody can come in and then answer, but I would want you to begin by answering this particular question for me and for us, because the question goes like this, that why does government prefer tax holidays and rebates instead of direct subsidies or grants to support businesses? Why don't the government just come and say, oh, let's give you this money or this incentive, this direct grant, so that you can just do your business? Why do they prefer the tax holidays and then the rebates instead? Why? Just why?
All right, thank you very much. My name is Michael Abudu, and I am a research officer, an economist as well, at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, specifically assigned to the Business Regulatory Reforms Program. So for the question, in Ghana, the tax preference for tax incentives or say tax holidays reflects both institutional capacity and fiscal discipline concerns. So first, government will prefer tax holidays to tax rebates because administratively, that one is easier to do. Because you see, Ghana's tax incentive regime, which is mainly administered through the Ghana Revenue Authority, which can be found in I think it's in Income Tax Act. Is it Act 896? Is anyone here? I think there's a lawyer here.
896, that's correct. That's correct, 896.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Which leverages on systems that already exist. So tax holidays for sectors like manufacturing, agro-processing, free zones, tourism are easier to administer than grant programs, which will require extensive project appraisal, monitoring, and sometimes post-disbursement enforcement. So given capacity constraints, tax incentives are more simpler and easier. On the second note, I think you see budget constraints also comes in here. You know, government operates under a tight fiscal space now, especially, you know, during periods of fiscal consolidation, which is usually occasioned by, you know, IMF supported programs and all that. So when that happens, tax incentives, you know, allow the government to forgo revenue conditionally, only when firms actually invest, hire, or generate some kind of profit. So direct subsidies, on the other hand, would require some cash outlays, which will be increasing the deficit pressures on borrowing. Another very important aspect of it is that tax incentives align with, you know, government's priority, maybe when it comes to private sector-led strategy. So rather than government deciding which individual firms deserve support, incentives are structured such that, you know, it can be sectorial, it can also be geographical. So such as reduced corporate tax rates for firms operating outside Accra may, you know, pay, instead of maybe the 25% tax, they are more likely to pay, say, 20% in priority sectors as well. So this reduces the perception of political favoritism and strengthens investment confidence, or say sentiment. I'll conclude by, I think the final point will be on governance and credibility, you know, dimension. We all know grant and subsidy schemes in many countries, even Ghana inclusive, have faced concerns around transparency, you know, politicization and sustainability. Tax incentives are seen as more rule-based rather than, you know, easily, you know, when it comes to defending it, it's easier compared to, you know, the grants. So that said, the downside is clear here. You know, Ghana's tax incentives mainly benefits, you know, formal and profitable firms, leaving out much of, you know, the informal sector that, you know, most of policymakers like me often see they want to support. So I think, yeah, basically that's why government will prefer, you know, the tax incentives or holidays and rebates over the grants and subsidies. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was like, the answer opened me up to know a lot of things, because I was thinking, well, if you are saying that we can just get some of the rebates back, why not give it to us before? It wouldn't make any difference. But then you have educated us on why it is done like that, and that there are particular reasons why the rebates exist. And so so now we know that it is not just to give relief to us. But then Mr. Emmanuel, yes, I want this next question to you. Yes, thank you. That from what you see on the ground, are these incentives actually reaching our SMEs, or is it only the businesses that are benefiting? Our SMEs, today's conversation is about SMEs. So is it really reaching them? You are on the ground. What have you seen concerning that?
Thank you. If I understand your question correctly, you are trying to look at whether the SMEs are benefiting from this task rebate that we are talking about.
Yes.
I would say yes and no. Yeah. And then the no is because I'm sure they are not taking full advantage of it. So that is why I feel like the SMEs are not making much or the needed use of it. But some too are doing so. And you know, it depends on how you are positioning your business in such a way that you take advantage of this rebate and this relief that we are talking about. And there are a lot of rebates and reliefs that are available to these SMEs, depending on where you want to set up your business, depending on where the type of business you want to enter in, and then if the location of the business and all those things. These are all some of the incentives that the SMEs can take advantage of. So if you want to take advantage of, one thing that you can take advantage of has to do with even the percentages of the taxes that are sometimes paid. So if you're an SME and you know that if you are in Accra, the normal rate that you're going to pay, the normal share, that is the corporate income tax you are going to pay is 25%. But I says, no, I don't want to be in Accra, but I want to be in other regional capitals. The law says if you want to be in other regional capitals, they'll give you 25% rebate or relief. So 25% of the 25%, which gives you us 18.5. So that means you instead of paying the 25%, you are not going to pay the 25%, you are paying 18 point, is it 18.5? I hope I'm right. So 0.25 times 0.25. Yeah. So it's one of the advantages. Another thing too is that if you say, no, I don't want the regional capitals, but I want district capitals, the law is saying that one you get 50% rebate. So half of 25% is 12.5%. So instead of you paying 25%, you pay 12%. If you don't want any of them, but you also want to have your business, it may be in the north where I have stayed for some time. The law is saying that one too, instead of you paying the 12.5%, no, you pay 5%. And all these things are there for you to take advantage of the laws that are available. And so that has to do with the location of the business. Another one too, they can also take advantage of is has to do with the type of business that you are going to enter in. You know, there are some of businesses that we call them priority centers. Like if you are in manufacturing, if you are in agro-processing, if you are even in IT, or you are even in the technological field, there are a lot of benefit or reliefs or incentives that the government will grant to you, which includes tax holidays, which includes maybe 5 years grace period or 5 years tax exemption period and all those things. So these are all some of the reliefs that are available for the SMEs. So depending on how you want to take advantage of, how you want to plan your business, you may be able to take advantage of and use it appropriately.
That is very exciting to hear, because I think for the start, we came to understand why the government has placed the incentive, the rebates here. And now Mr. Emmanuel has educated us that the reason why it is not reaching the SMEs is because of underutilization, that we do not know what to do. And it's quite good that we have this event to educate us on. I think all that we are doing goes to address just what Mr. Emmanuel talked about right now, not knowing how to utilize the system to benefit you when it comes to these tax incentives and then the rebates. So for this next question, or this next part of our discussion, I would want us to talk about the who benefits and then who is left out issues of this whole thing. And I think I would want to go back to Mr. Michael. Yes. As the economist, are tax incentives truly helping SMEs grow and create jobs? Or do they mainly benefit well-structured firms? The questions, I have two in one question. So the first one being, are the incentives truly helping the SMEs grow and create jobs, or do they benefit the well-structured firms? And then the second part of the question is that, what can SMEs do to position themselves better? So please, you tell us if it is helping the SMEs grow or if it is just for the well-structured firms. And then you tell us how the SMEs, anybody who is running an SME can position them in order to enjoy these incentives.
Well, thank you for your question. I guess you can hear me.
Yes, perfectly, yes.
All right, okay. So your question, tax incentive truly helping SMEs grow and create jobs? Well, tax incentives have contributed to investment and say job creation, but their impact on SMEs is say uneven and often selective. Why? You see, the well-structured firms, especially those in manufacturing, you know, and agro-processing and so forth, and those in the free zones enclaves, they often benefit a lot from this kind of incentive because these firms already file regular tax returns. They maintain proper financial records and operate within the formal economy. So for them, reduce corporate tax rates, you know, capital allowances and holidays, you know, lower the cost of their expansion or growth. And this encourage their reinvestment. However, we all know that the majority of Ghanaian SMEs operate mostly in the informal or semi-formal sectors. For these ones, the core constraint is often access to finance and, you know, working capital, not tax liability per se. But if a business is not yet profitable or does not fully comply with tax filing requirements, a tax incentive offers little immediate benefit to these SMEs. And this creates a fairness challenge. You know, tax incentives reward formality and scale rather than entrepreneurial potential. As a result, you know, tax incentives may reinforce existing, you know, the already existing inequalities between these established firms and SMEs. So on the second question, what SMEs can do, you know, to position themselves. Well, the first response to SMEs is first, they must formalize early because government only knows you when you've registered. So if government wants to tax you appropriately, government must know you. Likewise, if government wants to give you incentive, government must also know you. So SMEs should invest in, you know, proper bookkeeping, tax registration, and always try as much as possible to be compliant in order to benefit from some of these incentives. The second, I think investment in maybe financial literacy is also very critical. SMEs, as an SME, you don't need any big firm. You can see Charles Sagan, maybe he can, you know, take you through some tax, you know, education. You know, just someone who understands tax rules and, you know, the various deadlines can help you as an SME. And again, you know, the Ghana tax system rewards firms operating outside, you know, Accra or say outside the major centers and also in various priority sectors, as I indicated earlier. So SMEs, you know, should align their growth plans with these incentives so they can benefit or say get some kind of gain some competitive edge. So, well, in short, I would say tax incentives, you know, helps SMEs who are ready, not necessarily those who are most in need. So once you are ready, then that means you formalize, you keep clean records, and also be tax compliant. That can help you, you know, benefit from, you know, government incentives or tax incentives. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you see the importance of registration, of bookkeeping. Yes, of bookkeeping. Being a finance literate, where he's even directed you to the Tax Institute to make everything simpler for you. And so, Ms. Fosu, I would want this particular question, which is directly linked to what Mr. Michael just said, to go to you. And hearing what Mr. Michael said, I just want you to bring everything to lived experience for us. That at what point did you first realize your business qualified for a 5-year tax holiday? Was it something you planned from the beginning, or did you discover it later? Please tell us about that.
Hi, Ms. Mandy. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the question. So, for me, I've always knew about the tax holiday thing, and so I was just looking for the right time to go register for it or to sign up for it. And so over the years, I've been trying to start my business, and it's been a lot of ups and downs. So last year, I decided to get back to it again. And so just when I registered my business, I decided to go find out where I can start my registration from. Because anybody I knew that knew about it gave me different information that it didn't make a lot of sense to me. So then I needed to do my own research to go and ask where I can actually do the registration, because I knew about it, but as to where to start from, I didn't know. I felt like, or I thought I would do the registration from GRA. And so I went to GRA, and then I didn't have to start from there. So I got somebody from there that actually directed me to where I needed to start. So yes, I've always knew about it, but then last year was the start of year for me.
Knowing about it before, that's quite good. I think as we go on with our conversation, people will get to understand everything much better. And so for this next question, I would want us to go more into what particular incentives actually exist, and then where people can actually access these incentives. And so I would like for the accountant to talk to us first, Mr. Emmanuel. So please, can you give us an overview of why Ghana's tax system provides incentives for certain industries, and then which industries currently enjoy the most significant ones? Why is the Ghanaian system providing incentive for certain industries, and then which industries enjoy the most significant ones? So Mr. Emmanuel, please take us away.
Well, nothing. You said there is no free lunch. So normally government will never give you the incentive free of charge. Before government will give you an incentive, there should definitely be a reason why he is giving an incentive. And one thing that we all can even attest, even if you are not a tax person, is that you would want to attract investments. Because once you are giving an incentive to a business, you are telling the world that, oh, come here. When you come, our tax systems are not complicated. We offer you a lot of reliefs so that you'll be able to do your business. So come to Ghana. So that is basically one of the most important things, to attract investment. After attracting investment, you want to also industrialize your economy. Because once you industrialize, at the end of the day, you are going to create so many jobs. And once you create a job, people, even the money you get from PAYE alone will even offset the company, the CIT, the corporate income tax that at the end of the day you are going to charge. You are also going to, stimulate job creation. Because if you give them relief, they'll be able to plow back their profits into their business. And at the end of the day, they are going to create more employment. And once they create more employment, it is good for your economy. And another thing too that I can also think of is that you want to support some of your priority sector, also support some of your national policies. Because one government has come, like, let me even use the previous government. When he came and he said one district, one factory, there were a lot of companies that they gave them relief so that they'll be able to enter into this, they will take advantage of this one district, one factory policy. And in even this current dispensation, I know there are a lot that Ato Forson is also doing to also cushion some of the companies and the industries who want to also take advantage of this law. So to me, these are some of the the reason, the rationale behind government introducing these reliefs. And if you are asking about the various sectors, I think that is the next question, right? Asking about the various sectors. You remember when I was asking the first question, I made mention of priority sector. Every government has a priority sector. Every nation has a priority sector. And in Ghana, one of the priority sectors has to do with the agriculture and then the agro-processing. And once you are into agriculture and agro-processing, there are issues like tax holidays that can be given to you. There are issues of reduced tax rate that can also be given to you. And there are import duty exemptions when you import equipment and machine that you are going to use for production. There are a lot of incentives that you enjoy. There are also incentives for you when you even export most of your product. The normal tax rate that you are supposed to pay, once you are doing more of export, it is reduced for you, then you pay a lesser tax rate. So these are some of the incentives. Another sector has to also do with the manufacturing. So those who are into manufacturing and then industrial production too, sometimes also enjoy that same benefit. The tax holidays, the reduced tax rate, the import duty exemptions, then the accelerated capital allowance. Now, let me talk about this capital allowance. You know, businesses, when they are preparing their profit and loss, they charge depreciation into their account. GRA will tell you that depreciation is an allowable expense in accounting, but in taxation, it's not allowed. It's not an allowable expense. That means that if you are a business and you have your P&L and you put depreciation, the taxman will add it back to your profit before he will calculate the tax. But once you are in a business that you are into manufacturing and production, what the taxman will say that they are going to give you capital consumption allowance, and that is in place of the depreciation, what you are going to charge for the usage of your fixed asset. So that is also an advantage that you can also take of when you are into the production sector. Now, another sector has to do with the ICT and then the digital economy. Now, every economy wants to digitize. And now ICT has become the backbone of every economy. So the government also wants to cushion citizens to enter more, develop more into the ICT sector and make sure they come out with new things. So with that sector too, once you are able to get inside there, you enjoy most of the exemptions. And even one good thing about that sector is that research and development are also an allowable expense. When I say it's an allowable expense, I mean that when you are doing your P&L, you charge that one as an expense. And that is a good news for us to all to enter into the ICT sector. Now, the last thing I will talk about is the hospitality. And if you realize, the reason why ISP Show came to Ghana and we are giving him a Ghanaian passport is just because he has a lot of followers. And once he streams, people will begin to know Ghana and come to and experience the hospitality of Ghana. So once they also come, also want to develop our hospitality industry in such a way that whoever comes here will, send a good signal about Ghana. So the government also gives so much of an incentive to that sector too. Then the last one that I'm going to talk of has to do with the export and then the free zones. You know, government wants to get foreign exchange. So he always wants to encourage exports. People always, he wants the citizens to export more. And once you export more, it means that we are getting more dollar. Once we get more dollar, the city will not depreciate. And that is also an avenue to cushion business. So the government says that, okay, do more export. Once you do more exports, instead of me taxing you, I can tell you that I will give you tax holiday for 5 to 10 years period. And this is good news. If you have a tax holiday for 5 to 10 years period, this is a good news. So to me, these are some of the challenges, and these are some of the industries who are also enjoying perfectly from the tax reliefs and then the tax incentives too. Thank you.
I think when you were talking, everything that I was picking up from this whole conversation was that even in first deciding what business to do, I think having knowledge of the tax system in your country is very important. And I didn't know that until this series was done. And so Tax Institute, thank you very much once again. As the conversation is going on, please you can put in your questions in the chat box or save them for later when we allow you to join in and ask. Mr. Emmanuel, before I go on to ask Mr. Justice some questions, I think earlier I remember you mentioned some location-based incentives, and I would want you to actually give us a rundown of how it actually is, which locations are having more incentives than what, if that is what it is. So please tell us about that before I go on to Mr. Justice. Thank you.
So I was mentioning that, you remember last week I made mention that for me, if I want to open a business, instead of opening it in Accra, I'll go and open it in Nsawam and do all the sales and everything in Accra, because once I'm in Nsawam, it is considered as any other place. And once it's any other place, I'm going to get more or less like a tax rebate of 50% of it. So instead of paying 25%, now I'm going to pay 12.5%. So location plays a key role. So if you are in Accra and you are into production, if you are in Accra and you are into manufacturing, the law is saying that you pay 25%. That is the corporate tax rate. But if you decide not to stay in Accra, but you go into any other regional capitals, if you want to go to Cape Coast, if you want to go to Koforidua, you want to go to Goso, the law is saying that instead of you to pay 25%, you will not pay 25%, but you pay 18.75. So you remember I said that the corporate rate is 25, but they will give you a rebate of 25% out of the 4. So 25% off 25. And that is why you are going to pay 18.5. Then if you say you don't want any regional capitals, but you want district capitals, so you want to go into the districts so that at least you also stimulate job creation, you also industrialize the economy from those districts too. Instead of paying 25, you won't pay 25, you are going to pay 12.5. And that is half of the taxes that businesses located in Accra will pay. You are going to pay half. But if you decide not to even stay in Accra, not to stay in other regional capitals, not to stay in other districts, but you want to go to the north or any of the savannah zones, the law is saying that you only pay 5%. So this is good news. And those areas, to sometimes, depending on the sector you are in, you get a cheap labor, you get so many of raw materials and all those things, and those ones will help you. So that has to do with the location. And then there's one tool that we call the free zone enclave. So if you are a business and you set up your business within the free zone, there are also some of the benefit that you enjoy. But one thing we should know is that the free zone is not only in Accra. There are so many places that the government classify them as a free zone areas. And normally when you are in free zone and what you are supposed to do is that majority of your products supposed to be by export. You need to export them. The portion that you decide to import, you are going to pay the tax on it. But once you decide to export all of them, there are tax exemption period that are given to you for a period of 10 good years. And this is wonderful. If you are a business, you are setting up a business, and for 10 years, you are not going to pay any tax, then that is good news. And these reasons, just as I mentioned, some are in Takoradi, some are in Kumasi. There are so many places where these free zones are. And there is also one place that we can also take advantage of so that we can enjoy them. Outside the free zones, we can also talk of where I talk about the targeted development initiative or the targeted businesses where you can also do that one, use that one and take advantage of the tax law. So basically, these are some of the location incentives that are available to businesses and SMEs. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So, Mr. Justice, here let's talk about the money question, the ways to use the incentives well, because now we know, yes, there are incentives. SMEs can benefit. Yes, we've also heard from Ms. Fosia, who is a lived experience that we also want to follow in her path. And so now that we know they exist, we are equally in position to enjoy some of these benefits. The question now comes to, how should businesses deliberately structure their cash flow and capital budgets during a tax holiday?
Okay, thank you very much, Mandy, and good afternoon, team. What I would also like to add to the initial introduction is that aside my experience in the banking sector, I'm also an economist and then an entrepreneur. So my position does not really only stand from the financial perspective, but also I do understand from the other side. So to answer your question, when businesses do get tax holidays and then exemptions, the main thing that happens is the mindset of the business owner or the management of the team. How do they understand this incentive that has been given to them, or the holiday that has been given to them? Some of them see it as a reward that they should just immediately enjoy, give themselves huge bonuses, upgrade their lifestyles with it, and then plan poorly. And then they end up wasting the tool that has been given to them by government to ensure that they put their business in good order, and then they become bigger possible taxpayers in future. Because as Emmanuel mentioned earlier, government is giving incentives to businesses now so that in future they will become bigger. They will actually widen the tax net. So we are making it easy for you now, and tomorrow we hope you'll be bigger and we can tax you more. So it's a win-win for the government to give it now and then get bigger later. So what, from a financial perspective, if you are a business and you are enjoying any form of tax holiday or incentive, what you should look at first is how to reduce whatever debt you have in your operations. If you have taken any loans or you have gotten any form of debt from any people, and then you get these tax holidays, you should focus on paying them off with these extra cash that has come into your hands. What you can also do is you can also look at how you can prolong your business operations in the terms of by engaging your suppliers and letting them know that now that you do have some small fiscal opportunities, you can actually get longer term supply contracts, which in turn will reduce the cost per unit that you get, because most of these supply contracts are based on volume. So the higher your volumes, the lower the prices you can negotiate. So you can take advantage of this also. And then what you can also look at with this tax rebate is you can use it to improve the skills and then the knowledge of the people in the business, yourself and your staff. You can take courses, you can have programs, you can invite the Tax Institute to train your people better so that they can know more of what is happening and take better advantage of the situation. And then finally, what I would like to add is since you have this cash flow available to you, you can ensure that whatever certifications that you need to make you more marketable locally and internationally, international standards, you take advantage of them, and then you position yourself in a very good space so that by the time this incentive is is taken back, because it's all time bound. Some are 5 years, some are 7 years, some are 10 years, but definitely it will come to an end. So by the time you exhaust this, then you would have really been able to put yourself in a position where you can operate normally, facing whatever tax obligation that is given to you. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Justice, before I go on to talk to Ms. Fosia, I think you were discussing the tax holidays and everything, but then if a business gets a tax holiday, does it make that business attractive to banks, or does it make it attractive to even partners or to other companies, and why?
Okay, so if you have a tax holiday, definitely, and it shows that you have a little bit of an edge when it comes to financial stress on yourselves. Because when a bank is giving out a loan, there are a few things we look at. One is we want to know that you are guaranteed receivables. That's you have a predictable cash flow. So one way to guarantee that is if you are enjoying a tax holiday, you can price lower, so you become more competitive on the market, and that guarantees you regular revenue. So bank sees that, we see that, oh, it's very likely that you are going to get cash flow. And then it will mean that you also have current assets. You have cash on you. Should you need to repay your loan, you would always have some cash on you, because there are some input taxes that you will be avoiding, and those cash will be sitting in your account, and anytime you need to repay, you'll be able to do that. And then it reduces the total risk around us dealing with you, because we know that for you to get the tax holiday and the exemption, then you should have gone through the process. You should be compliant. You should be properly registered, like the earlier speakers mentioned. So it shows that you are a solid business that we can trust and we can do business with. So with that, we can actually negotiate better interest rates with you. Even if you want a longer tenor loans, we can ensure that. And then even if you do not have so much collateral, it gives you an advantage. So yes, definitely, SMEs enjoying tax holidays are very much friends to the bank, and we like to work with them.
If you own an SME, I'm sure now you are understanding why how important this conversation is. And if you had a tax holiday secured for your business, how attractive it would make it. And so let's go to the one who could give us the lived reality of businesses here in Ghana and how the tax holidays work for them. So Ms. Fosia, I would love for you to tell us the reality. How did you get your tax holiday approved? What was the process? And once it was approved, how did it change your business?
Hi, please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to do the process first, just like you asked. And so first of all, like I said the first time, I thought I was supposed to go get it at GRA. So I went straight to GRA. And then I said, look, I'm into food and beverages. Mentally, I'm not in a good position to pay tax and to deal with GRA back and forth. And I know there's an exemption for young people. I said that I know there's an exemption for people in the business space I am in. And so I want to sign up for that. And they said they truly didn't have an idea of what I was talking about. And so the lady at the desk was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I don't know, maybe you have to go back and come again. And I said, no, I mean, I know there's an exemption for people like me. And I have been told, or I know if I come here, I can do it. And she still didn't have an idea of what I was talking about. So she directed me to somebody that is her supervisor to go and ask, because she doesn't know. So when I went to him, he was the one that knew about it and said, oh, yes, I mean, tax relief for young entrepreneurs in Ghana below 35 years. And I said, yes, that's what I'm looking for. And he said, the process, you have to go to the National Youth Authority to get a letter and then bring it to us. Then when you bring your letter, we'll start working on your process for you. So I went to the NYA and thinking that, oh, I was just going to tell them that I want to sign up for the tax exemption for young people in Ghana. And then they'll just give me a letter. but it was a different ballgame altogether. They asked me to go back, write a letter of application, and tell them about what I do as a young person in my business, and then they will take it from there. So I had to come back home, write an application letter, and then submitted it to the National Youth Authority. And when I submitted my letter, I asked them how long it's going to take or when I'm going to get a feedback from them. And they're like, oh, it's going to take less than a week. I said, okay. So I went back home hoping that they'll call me during the week to come pick my letter up, or to come, I mean, they'll call me during the week for a feedback or something. I waited for a week, nobody called me. 2 weeks, no call. 3 weeks, I was getting confused. I thought it said it's less than a week. So then I had to go back there and then ask them about it. And when I went back, everybody that, I mean, where I submitted my letter, I took it to the reception, but they asked me to take it to a certain room. So I went back to the room and they all look confused. They don't remember me. They don't remember the letter I brought. They have no idea what I was even talking about. So I had to do a little bit of back and forth with them. They had to go through their books to look for my name, my business name, the date I submitted, and we still did not find it. I had to leave, and then they'll call me just in case they get hold of my letter. So I left, and it took me another month. Nobody called me. I had to go back there. Then that day they said, oh, they had worked on my letter and given it to the person that is going to sign the letter and then give me a note to go and give to GRA. And I said, okay, so where is the person? Should I go and see him? They said, oh, no, I should go and come. I said, no, I can't go and come because I've been here like twice and there's nothing happening. I need to see the person. At least I need to be sure that he has received my letter and he's working on it. Then they said, oh, he's not around. I said, okay, I'll wait for him. If only he'll come back. So I waited for like an hour and then he came. So I went to see him. And then he was like, nobody has given any letter to me. I don't even know what you're talking about. Who said they've given a letter to me? Go and call the person for me. So I went to call the person who happens to be a National Youth personnel. And then she said, oh, she brought a letter to him to sign, a whole blah, blah, blah. I said, no, you haven't submitted any letter to me. Go and look for it. Go and look for that said letter and bring it to me. You've not brought me any letter. So I had to leave because I had another meeting. So I left them and said I was going to come back to check up on my letter. So I left. And then the fourth time, they still couldn't find my letter. The person who is supposed to read the letter and sign has still not received my letter. I had to help them look for the letter. Finally, they saw my letter. I had to show a copy of them on my phone to them. They finally saw what I was talking about, and I had to wait for them to reprint it, work on it, sit for the person to write a letter of an approval for me from NYA for me to go and give to GRA. So because that's how they're going to start, GRA is going to start working on my exemption process. So I had to wait for them. I waited for more than 3 hours. And then finally, I got my approval letter to submit to GRA. Then I went to GRA, hoping that, oh, GRA will be fast because I mean, it looked like the man knew about it. And he also said, oh, the moment you bring the letter from NYA, you get it like within a short time. So I knew that, oh, I'll get my tax exemption. That one to Wahala. I submitted that letter around June. And from the June, I submitted June 31st. It was terrible. I had to do back and forth with GRA. I had to be going there. They too, at a point, they couldn't find my letter. The only thing that saved me was that when I went to submit my letter, I met a man there, and he was like, when you give this letter to them, make sure that they stamp it. The ladies at the other office stamp it, and take a screenshot and take a shot of the letter with our stamp on it, because they may say that they cannot find your letter, and this is the only way you can prove to them that you've submitted the letter. And I said, okay. So I did that. And so when they said, no, I've not submitted any letter to them, they can't find my letter, I had to pull that. I had to pull that short and say, no, I've submitted the letter, and this is your stamp on it. And that one too, it took me about 2 months or 3 months for them to figure out where the letter was. They didn't even see the letter. I had to show them their copy, and so they had to say, oh, don't worry, and since there's a photo showing that you've submitted it and we've stamped it, we'll start working on it for you. Go, and when it's ready, we will call you. I said, okay. So I left, and then after a month, nobody had called me. I had to go there, ask them back and forth, a whole lot. At a point, they said, oh, my business doesn't qualify, and because I do catering. And I said, no, my business qualifies. I'm so sure that it qualifies, because in as much as I do food and beverages, I know I can fit in a couple of spaces, because food or catering is kind of attached to hospitality. And so, I mean, and I know that people in the hospitality space, they pass for the exemption. And also I do manufacturing. I produce my juices myself. I don't buy it and sell. And so one way or the other, I know that I qualify for this. And so they should work on it for me. And they said, okay, and then I have to either go back to NY and get another letter. I said, no, I don't have the strength to go back to them to go get another letter. There's no way. They have to find my letter, because it's actually a proof that I've submitted it. So, I mean, it is in this office. They have to find it. And they said, okay, they'll work on it for me. Then I got tired of doing back and forth with GRA like 100 times. It was so stressful. Every day there was something that they could not find, or there's something that they don't understand. I have to explain to them, or there's something that they're explaining to me that I do not understand. It was really stressful. Then last, I said, you know what, I'm tired. The man said, okay, now they've worked on it. They've submitted my papers and everything to the head office. And so if it's ready, they'll call me. I said, okay, I'm tired. I'm not coming back to ask you guys again, because I'm so tired. It's been like a whole more than 6 months of this thing. But I started the process in April when I registered my business, and it's so far gone. I'm tired. So nobody was minding me again, which I was not minding anybody again. Then fast forward in December, I had a call from the man, and then he said, oh, we've been trying to reach you since last week. Your number has been off. I said, no, my number hasn't been off. I said, oh, your letter is in. You have to come and pick it. Goodness, I was so excited. The way I jumped on my bed. And then it was a Friday. He said, oh, anytime you can come and get it. I said, don't worry, I'm coming right now. I'm coming to get him. So I dressed up, and then I went to the office, and my letter was there. And goodness, it was a relief. The process was tough, but it was a relief. And I was grateful that I went through that process, in as much as it was stressful. But for me, what it has done, or after receiving or picking my letter, what it has done for me is that it has taken off the GRA overthinking burden from me. Because initially I know, I mean, running a business in Ghana is stressful, especially if you have to deal with GRA back and forth. It's stressful. Going to GRA is stressful. I don't know if there's anybody on the call that works at GRA, but you guys, GRA is stressful. Dealing with GRA is so stressful. And I mentally, as a young person trying to build a business, I don't have that mental capacity right now to do that with GRA. And also, I feel like getting the exemption will relieve me of the rush that my business will do well, because then I would have to be paying tax if I'm running the business. And paying tax is like working and sharing your money with somebody. And if you're not making a lot of money or enough money, it can really have a toll on you because you are not making too much money, but then you still have to pay tax, because I mean, it's something that you have to do if you want to run a business in Ghana. And so it has really taken off a lot of burden from me financially, psychologically, emotionally. It has really done me good now. I'm not actively working, but then I don't also have to bother my head too much with GRA coming after me and say, oh, why are you not paying tax? All that questions and answers. I'm not ready for it. And it was one of the reasons why I decided to apply for the tax exemption. And I've actually seen the relief it has given me. So basically that's it.
Listening to your reality made everything I could feel the stress from you. Because I was asking myself, wow, you had to approach all these barriers, go over them, and then if we hadn't had you on this call to tell us about it, we would think, okay, it's just this and it's just this. But you have also brought a different perspective, which is about like getting ready mentally to face the kind of systems, the barriers, the challenges, where to even go. Right now, we know where to go first, where to go second. Yeah, so thank you very much for your answer to this question. But then, Mr. Emmanuel, you see, Miss Fosia has her business. She's enjoying the tax holidays. Are there some things or some conditions that she must be complying with in order to retain her holidays? Can it be taken from her? It's 5 years. So is it that automatically she has the 5 years to the end, or there are some conditions that if she does not comply with, it could be taken away from her? This is just to make all of us aware of aware of what happens after you get your tax holidays approved.
Well, first of all, let me congratulate you for being able to withstand the stressful nature of GRA. You've really done well, and your tenacity has paid off. But she mentioned something, maybe I want to correct something here, that she doesn't have to do with GRA again. The exemption given to her was on corporate income tax, and it doesn't exempt her from withholding taxes. So let me explain the two. The corporate income tax is that at the end of the period, you've made this profit and you are paying part of the profit. But the withholding tax also come in when people render services or you purchase goods from people. And once they render service for you, you have to pay them. The law is in that once I am paying somebody, I need to withhold part of the money that I'm paying to that person so that I will go and pay to GRA. That one is not her money. It's not coming from her business, but she is withholding on behalf of the government. So as for withholding taxes, once you are a business and you are going on, you always need to withhold from people, and that one you have to pay. So that one, it's there. But for the corporate income tax, for sure, within the 5 years, whatever profit she makes is for her. She's not going to share that with the government. So that is also. Then two, there are things that she should also continue to do right. And when we were starting, one of our speakers made mention of proper records keeping and all those things. Even GRA, normally when you are going for some of the registrations like that, when you're going for exemptions and all those things, they also want to get a proper records. They also want to make sure that indeed your business that you are doing, at the end of the day, you are filing the returns. And last week I made mention that you making no profit doesn't mean you don't need to file a return. So you should prepare all your documents, make sure that at the end of the day, every month, or you should have your document intact. You have a proper record so that even when the GRA comes for an audit, you also have those documents intact. Then, one thing you should know is that you got the exemption because you are below 35. So once you get your age gets to that limit, it means you won't get the exemption again. Because that
Right.
exemption is only given to younger entrepreneurs who are below 35. So you need to also be mindful of that. Then once you're also into a business, there are a lot of things that you need to also take. I mean, you need to be, because you are working within an environment, you should also look at making sure the environment is also clean. You should also make sure that when you are hiring, you are also hiring local, I mean, more or less like local people. And there was even one tax incentive that businesses normally don't talk of. That has to do with employing young graduates. You know that when you employ young graduates, I've forgotten the number, but when you employ them up to some point, first, 20% of the salary you pay them is given to you back as a relief. And when you get to a certain limit, 50% of salaries you pay them to the young graduate are all given to you as a relief. So it is also one thing that you can also keep on doing. I've mentioned the reporting and then the compliance. You need to still reporting, and I've mentioned the environmental sustainability issues too. And one thing too is that you also need to be, know that at the end of the day, you will be audited. Once you are a business going and you are a surviving business, at the end of every year, you have to also produce an audited report or audited account. So these are also some of the things you need to take into consideration. So in a nutshell, be employing the people, the local people, make sure you file the tax returns, make sure, you are environmentally friendly, that is your business, and make sure you also conduct your audits. And at the end of the day, you'll be able to, hold on to your relief till you are 36.
Thank you so much for adding on to this. And so for our next question, I would want both Mr. Michael and then Mr. Justice to lend their knowledge to us. And then it's just still about compliance. But then we would just want you to tell us some of the compliance conditions that you see businesses often underestimate. Are there some compliance issues that you see this business would underestimate? This one does. There are some things that you see that collectively a lot of people do underestimate or do involve themselves in. So when it comes to compliance and its issues, are there some conditions that some businesses are mostly underestimating? Please tell us about that, Mr. Michael, and then after that, Mr. Justice would also tell us. Please, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. Then, Mr. Justice, please go on first for us. Is there anything you would want to tell us about this? Have you seen or witnessed any compliance conditions that you see most people often underestimating? So, this is nothing, but you think we should really take a look at it?
Okay, yes. So when it comes to having access to tax holidays, like we are discussing, most people do not have the clear understanding of what it is and how to even access it. And like Fosua took us through, these kind of things can be very, very kind of not easy to get. It's very a stressful process. Myself, I've been through a similar process like she has, and it was not easy. But finally, I also got mine through resilience. And then at the end of the day, I wasn't able to utilize it very much because my business wasn't really well planned at that time. So even though I had access to the holidays, I could not really make the most of it, and I could not continually take advantage of it. So if you do have these tax holidays, you should not take them for granted. This is the time that you have to look at how to scale up your business, how to use that to build whatever resilience you need currently, knowing that it is time bound, age bound or time bound, but a time is going to come where you are not going to have it again. So what you have to do is you put your business in so much order that it can actually survive your post-tax period. So whatever you have to do now to make sure that you are able to operate after the incentive has been withdrawn, you have to put in place. Be it knowledge, be it assets, be it pricing, be it branding in any possible space. You should not just allow the period to pass without you putting those measures in place. And I think that is the reason why a lot of businesses plan and then they factor in these holidays into their processes so much that after the holidays, we see them winding up shortly because their pricing models, their organizational structures, their administrative expenses, their so much has been off the free giveaway that they are having that their businesses cannot sustain it. So to put it simply, if your business cannot operate without the tax incentives, then you should see that the state, your idea or what you are trying to promote is not viable in that current state. You need to fine-tune it to be able to operate without the tax incentives. And even in the period that you are having the tax incentives, you still have to have it in your mind that you are operating without the incentive so that you put things in order whilst you are enjoying it. And then you use the cash flow that comes with it to help you scale up and become bigger and stronger so that you can face your obligations in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Ms. Fosu, I would like to come back to you. You have spoken to us about your whole process in getting your tax holiday approved, but then I want you to, in simple terms or like in a systematic process, tell us if someone is here on this call and is thinking, oh, I want to be like Ms. Fosu, I want to go get my things in order to see if I could secure a tax holiday for myself. Just please give us a rundown of where the person should go, the kind of things to get ready for, what it's just like a big sister, little sister advice, like someone who's already done it, and then someone who wants to follow that person's steps, come to the person. You know what the challenges are, you know what the limitations, where to go first, where to go second, how to make the whole process smoother than how yours was. And so just give us, like in simple terms, a rundown of the whole process so that if anybody is on this call, they would know what to do first, what to do second, from here to here, get this ready, get that ready. So Ms. Fosia, please go on.
Okay, thank you. So basically, I think that what you need to put in place is your business registration and your business registration, and if there are any other certification in connection to your business. It's not too necessary, but I think you have any other certifications too, it helps. And then you need a copy of your Ghana card. And yes, so you write a letter to the NYA, the National Youth Authority, to apply as a young person running a business in Ghana. You apply for the tax exemption. And then they will do their own checks on you, and then they'll give you an approval letter to go give to GRA. But you also have to write another application letter to GRA to apply for tax exemption as a youth-led business owner or as a youth-led business, and then attach that to the letter that the National Youth Authority will give to you. Then you have to add your business certifications to it with your Ghana card, and then submit them all to GRA. Then from there, they will just work on it. So basically, I mean, the things you need to apply are very straightforward and simple. It's just the process that is stressful and challenging. But then also you need to make sure that you've cleaned your back if you've been running your business for a while. If you've not been paying tax, you need to make sure you're clearing yourself on that part, because then GRA would, the moment you go to GRA, you've taken yourself to them and they will start doing their findings on you one way or the other, because they did that to me actually. It's just that they thought probably maybe my business was there or has been running already, because the TIN number I presented to them was an old TIN number. When I got it when I had plans of doing that, and it has been there for a very long time. And so when the lady saw my TIN number, she thought I've been running the business for a while. And so her argument was that my TIN number is an old TIN number. And so they need to really process me to pay some amount, because it means then I've been running the business for a while. But then I also had my own argument that the fact that I've had a TIN number doesn't mean I've been running the business. I mean, so you need to make sure that your back is clean properly. If you've not been paying your tax, or if you've not been doing your filings, there's going to be a problem. So you have to make sure that you do due diligence before you go to GRA, else they'll come for you.
Okay, so Ms. Fosia, please don't go back yet. I think I just want you to answer something else for us. That you've in telling us about your process, I think you also in a way told us about some of the challenges, maybe not all of them. But then were there some challenges that were so big that at a point you sat down and you were like, should I even give up? Was there something like that?
Yeah, there was something like that. So the very last time I went back to the NYA I was tired. I was stressed out because I had gone there like 4 times, and their office is around Kaneshie, and I live around Domi Pillar 2, and it's a long journey for me going there up and down. It was stressful. And the last time I went there, and the national service personnel that I gave my letter to, she cannot find the letter. She cannot find my letter. And that's me. I'm there all smiley, being all calm. Such as I was tired. She disrespected me. I genuinely don't want to say what she said. And it hit me so hard because, I'm tired and I'm doing this back and forth. And if there's anybody that has to be angry and disrespectful here, it should be me, because I have brought something to you. It is your job to keep it well and make sure that why I brought it to you has been done, but you have not kept it. And now you are mad at me. Almost everybody in the office looked a bit mad at me because they were saying that, like, I don't have patience. Meanwhile, I've been there like 4 times. Patience, it was so stressful. And unfortunately for her, I went with a friend, a good friend of mine, and she did not let it slide. She was like, no, she's not going to let it slide. So she went after the girl, and it was a whole lot, trust me. This thing that I'm saying, it's normal like that. It was crazy, because she was like, no, this is so bad. And I actually even made a video of the lady. I said I was going to talk about it on social media, because I create content on social media. So I said I was going to speak against NYA and speak against national service personnel. But I did not do it because I have younger siblings, and I'm wondering, what if they also go and mess up outside like that? Would I be happy that somebody brings them on social media to bash them? No. So I didn't do it. But for me, that was like the breaking point for me, because I was tired, but I was still being calm and patient about it. And then somebody has to come and say, you don't have patience. I'm like, madam, what patience again? And everybody was mad at me, including there was a woman that she was supposed to process the letter. The letter goes through a lot of processes. It's crazy. I don't know how, but Ghana's system is funny. She was supposed to process, and then it will go to the man. She also could not find it. And even the way they asked me to wait and that somebody will call me, I was seated there. She came, the person that was supposed to come and call me, she came to the reception to chat with them when I was waiting for her to come and call me. To chat with them and laugh, did her own thing for like about 10 minutes. She was there living her best life, knowing that somebody is waiting for her to call. Yeah, she went to sit in the office and then came back to stand at the door and asked one of the receptionist girls to that if there's a lady here, and the business of her name is Nourish and Waya. I was there asking them that the ladies whose business name is Nourish and Waya, where is she? And then I was sitting there looking at her. And so it was crazy for me. The emotional stress, the psychological stress. It was crazy. If you don't have the spirit of long suffering, patience, and tolerance, you can't do it, because I think that's how the process is. It's difficult. You may end up fighting with somebody that you probably don't have to fight with, or you may just end up fighting with people that ideally you're not supposed to be fighting with. So yeah.
I think about our institutions, that conversation is a whole other conversation for us.
It's a whole topic for another day.
Whole other conversation. But I'm just happy that we have you who has been able to withstand mentally. You withstood everything and then you were able to secure it for yourself. So we look at you from that perspective and then try to do the same for ourselves. Thank you so much, Ms. Fusia. So Mr. Michael, previously we were talking about compliance issues. And then one question that popped up was that are there particular compliance conditions that businesses mostly underestimate? You see, there are some things that a lot of people like to collectively do. You see it, and maybe it is something that you are concerned about. And so we are just trying to find out from you that, have you seen any of such things, compliance conditions that people keep underestimating? And yes, this kind of compliance conditions, are there some of them that you think we should really take a look at right now?
Well, thank you for the question. I think the very critical one has to do with filing before the deadline. That one is very critical. As an SME, it's always it's the best practice that you always try as much as possible to file your tax on time. And of course, clean records is very necessary. You have to keep records, as I indicated earlier. That's how, we all know how costly it is to comply to, some of these regulations or, standards. So basically, I think that one is very critical for an SME to do. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So I would like to go back to Ms. Fusia again for her experiences. So Ms. Fusia, what advice would you give to SMEs who qualify but are afraid of the process? Maybe even our conversation, you talking about the stress. Some people, when they hear stress, they are like off. And even before you came to speak about it, I'm sure it was even in our minds. We see how stressful it is to try to stay in a system or try to enter a system here in our country. So for an SME, an owner who is afraid of the whole process, what advice would you give them?
My short advice, you don't have to, do not be afraid. Fear is a liar. If you can run a business in Ghana, you can do any other thing. And so if you have the capacity to run a business in Ghana, then you have the capacity to go through this process. It's nothing. So please do not be afraid. You can do it.
Do not be afraid, you can do it. Thank you so much, Ms. Fusia. And we've had an amazing conversation. But before we go to conclude everything, I think this next question is something I want to pass around to every one of our speakers here. And I just want you all to tell us that's one thing that SMEs should start doing differently after all we've come to know about in this session. So after this session, when we all cut the call and all go back, if someone has an SME, an owner of someone is planning to have it, what is that one thing that in your perspective, in your knowledge, that SME should do differently? And so I think Mr. Emmanuel, I would want to come to you first, and then we'd go to Mr. Justice, then Mr. Michael, then lastly, Ms. Fosia would give us the, yeah.
Well, if you ask me, I will say that in business, proper record keeping is the key. Then they also need to take advantage of the tax planning. Tax planning is also equally important as planning for your business, because once you are deciding to enter into a business, you should know that definitely you are going to encounter GRA, you are going to encounter taxes. So you need to plan your business in such a way that you are going to take advantage of the tax laws. And today, fortunately, we've spoken about the location incentives. We've spoken about whatever incentives that are available for SMEs and all that we can take advantage of. So we need to plan our business well in such a way that we'll be able to take advantage of all these things. So for me, one thing I will urge SMEs to do is do a proper tax planning. Sometimes, if you can't do it alone, at least engage somebody. That's why TaxWise is here. Engage them. And just as last week Charles said, it will come with no cost or at a little cost. So engage them that this is what I want to do. As a tax expert, what do you think? What advantage or what incentives are available for me to take advantage of? So do all this planning and you'll be able to take advantage of the tax law. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. I'm sorry, Mr. Michael. Okay, Mr. Justice, please, could you?
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh,
Michael.
okay, okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so mine will be very short. My closing line will be very short. Tax incentives work best when firms see them as an opportunity to build some competitiveness that is lasting enough. So not just as permanent shield from the market situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think before I go on to Mr. Justice, please give me a moment. Mr. Michael mentioned permanence, and I think for one of his questions, we were about to discuss that. So Mr. Michael, not to put you in a tight corner though, but just to find out more about this particular thing. And then the question is that if an SME gets their tax holiday, should they treat it as a permanent benefit? Because I heard you mention permanence right now. Is it something permanent, or what are the temporary policy tools? Is it temporary? Is it permanent? What are the tools actually? And why does it matter that we find the distinction, whether it is permanent or temporary? Just tell us. Because I heard you mention permanence right now. And so is it permanent or temporary? Like, yes.
I get you. Well, tax incentives should clearly be treated as temporal and conditional, not permanent guarantees as we may think. When you consider the fiscal history of this country, tax incentives are mostly reviewed, revised, or at times rationalized, especially during periods of revenue mobilization reforms. So incentives can be reduced or removed as government priorities shift. You see, so for instance, there are instances where IMF comes in and, there is this kind of domestic revenue targets that are, tightened. IMF may advise that the government, you have to cut, your incentives so that you can be able to mobilize revenue to a certain level. So on the second question, whether this distinction is important, is that this matters because firms that assume permanence, expose themselves to policy and macroeconomic shocks. When government just changes, its tax regime or tax incentive regime, you might find those firms that rely heavily on this kind of incentives, tend to find themselves, struggling to thrive. So it is very important that, SMEs, consider it as a temporary kind of a thing, not a, an indefinite thing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. SMEs, it is temporary, and so your decisions regarding how you use it, how you plan everything should be around the fact that it is temporary. So still back to that one thing that you think SMEs should start doing differently after this session, Mr. Justice.
Okay, so I would also like to touch on financial planning and management. With the financial institutions, when you come to us, we like to look at your financials, how you've been operating. And then we've had situations where people have kind of mixed their personal lifestyle, finances with their business operations. And sometimes people come and they want facilities, and upon engagement, they say, oh, most of the income is in my personal account. Can I bring that one to also support the business account that I have? And we have statements like that. So why should you be mixing it up? Why should you be? You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. You should clearly separate your business from your personal life. And then when you are dealing with us, then it becomes clear that this is what you have, and this is how we can support you. And then we become confident when we are dealing with you. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Fosia, what should every SME be doing differently after this session?
So I like to speak in general. For me, I like advise that every SME should read widely or research widely, because there are lots of opportunities out there for SMEs. But I think sometimes you feel like, oh, your business is small, so you are in your little corner minding your own business. Meanwhile, there are lots of opportunities out there. A lot of free, quote and unquote, free things out there for SMEs, in terms of tax, in terms of registrations, in terms of things you need for business operations. There are a lot of things out there for SMEs. So in general, please, let's read or do findings widely. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for the advice. It means so much to all of us here, hearing from someone who has, worked in the steps already. And so last week we promised our salaried workers, we told them that most of these laws do not apply to salaries, but then there are some that do offer them some kind of release. And we did not forget, no, and so we would want to conclude on that. Our salaried workers here are listening. And so for this last concluding question, I would want to ask Mr. Michael to please talk to us about the salaried workers and what is happening and not happening for them. So the question is that many salaried workers are not aware of the personal tax reliefs available under Ghana's tax laws. So from your experience, Mr. Michael, why is this the case? Why are salaried workers not even in the knowing of this tax reform, the personal tax release? And then from your experience, which of the personal tax release is underutilized by salary workers, and then why? Mr. Emmanuel, sorry. This is a question to Mr. Emmanuel, yes.
All
For our
right,
salaried workers. We promised them, yes, we promised them last week.
Thank you, yeah. Well, so before I move on to some of the challenges and why they are not taking advantage, maybe let me first of all speak about the various reliefs that are available to them. And the first thing I would want to mention has to do with the pension reliefs. You know that as every employee, when you are paid your salary, your employer compulsory contribute 13% of your basic salary to your pension. Then you also contribute 5.5% of your basic salary to pension. So with the two one you add, you get about 18.5%. And the law says that the maximum you can go is 35% to enjoy full benefit. So if you are someone who want to reduce your tax burden, because they are all allowable deductions. What you can do is to go in for tier 3 and pay 16.5% of your basic salary, and that will be allowed for tax purposes. So that is one good thing that we are not taking advantage of. The next one has to do with the marriage relief, the marriage or the dependent relief. The law is saying that once you are a resident, a Ghanaian resident, and you are married, and you are taking care of a family, you are entitled to 1,200 Ghana cedis per year as an allowable deductions. If you're also taking care of children, that is child education. You have children that you're taking care of. You're also entitled to 600 cedis per year, per child. And that one, you can have a maximum of 3 children. And these children must be children who are being educated in Ghana. The education institution must be in Ghana. So, and it must be, you can't take them to an institution in US and you want a relief. No, it must be an institution in Ghana. The next one has to do with the disability relief. We are saying that once you are a member of the disabled society, as you have any well-known disability, 25% of your basic salary is given to you as a relief. If you are into a business too, 25% of all your business income is given to you back as a relief. Then aside that too, another relief we can also talk of is the old age or the dependent. So if you have your mother and your father and they are depending on you, you can also get 1,500 per year for taking care of old age dependents. Then for the old age dependent, those who are dependent, you are entitled to 1,000 cedis per one. So if it's the 2,000, but old age, if you yourself, you are above 60 years and you are still working, that one to old age, you are entitled to about 1,500 cedis per a year. Then we also have an educational relief. You yourself, you want to further your education, but mind you, this one is not granted to more or less like certificates. When I say certificates, it's not granted to BSc, MBA, and all those things. It is only granted to professional. So professional bodies like ICA, if you go into that one, it will be granted to you, like CIT and all those people. They can grant them to you. Then one thing that we have also forgotten is the mortgage relief. You know, we are all young and our dream is to own a house. So the law is saying that if you take a mortgage and you get a house, all the interest that you are paying on the mortgage is an allowable deduction. But mind you, the building or the mortgage must be for you. The building must be in your name for you to enjoy that relief. So these are some of the reliefs that are available to us that we can take advantage of. Then, why are salary workers not taking advantage? If you ask me, well, the first thing I will talk about is that for PAY, we feel like it is just get the money and go your way. So why should I worry myself about all those reliefs? So people don't care. They only care about the money that I will get at the end of the month. I don't want to go through any processes. The next one has to do with education. We've not educated members enough, so they are not even aware. They are not even aware that these are available to them. And you know, when Foshia was talking, she said that she thought when she wanted the relief, she could go to jail, and as soon as she gets there, to be granted to her. But as soon as she started, they realized that the processes are more complicated than she thought. So we need to take our time and educate people and educate salary workers that these are some of the reliefs that are available to them and they cannot take advantage of. One thing that we can also do is that we can also, one thing that is also preventing them from getting has to do with the complexities. You know, Foshia mentioned, it became so complicated that she felt like giving up. And if I am also in her shoe, feel like, why should I worry myself about this small money? Then I will just quit and go. And sometimes even in the documentations you have to, send to the office before you are granted. If you are saying you are taking, or you are married, bring your marriage certificate. If you are saying you are this, bring all these things. So sometimes you feel like, oh, because of all these documents, I wouldn't want to go there. Then another thing is that sometimes we also don't seek advice from the best quarters. If you like, like assuming you get a friend, you speak about it to a friend, and how so some of these advices you get them and you feel like, no, then it doesn't worth it. Why should I even worry myself? So you won't do that. Then the last thing I'll talk about has to do with the tax planning. What we ourselves, we are not planning our tax. You can imagine if I am earning like 20,000 a month and I'm granted 20% of it as a relief. That is a lot of money that will be added back to my salary before the tax is calculated. So once we also plan our taxes, we'll be able to take advantage of it. But once we are not planning, then it means that we won't take advantage of it. So to me, these are some of the reasons why salary workers are not taking advantage of the reliefs available to them. Thank you.
That was mind-blowing. So all too soon, every good thing must come to an end. So as we are about ending, I, for one, am very happy to have joined this TaxWise series edition. I have come to learn a lot of things that it's different when you know something exists and then you learn about it. And it's different when you don't even think it exists and then someone just brings it into your world. That is the whole experience that I have had out of this series and out of this edition. And so TaxWise Institute, thank you very much for hosting and for having all of us. And about the salaried workers and their reliefs, I am pleading on the Tax Institute to also plan something for our salaried workers so that they can have an extensive session with us. So to end everything, I would call the president of the Tax Institute to close us, to tell us what's next, to let us know what to do. Any last advice from him? So Mr. Charles Hagan, please please go on.
Okay, Mandy, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful conversation. I appreciate the wisdom and the thoughts and everybody's experience he or she has brought on board to make this program a success. I'm getting feedback that because of the elections of the MPP, a lot of our people are following and all of that, and so couldn't be present here for the meeting. But however, we streamed it live on YouTube, and so I'm sure we can go back to the YouTube feed for that. I want to appreciate everybody for joining this particular conversation. And I know that this will not be our last, especially on the tax education. If you followed the conversation over the last few weeks, it's become something on social media, especially about celebrities that are complaining about GRA harassing them, VAT issues and all of that. And so please, let's be open to conversations like this. Let's stick around. We'll be announcing more dates and programs. This year is going to be very busy for us, and so I pray that you're also available anytime we call on you. Thank you very much.
So thank you to each and every one of you. A very big thank you to our panelists for taking time and for sharing your knowledge with us. God bless each and every one of you. And so Tax Institute, please, we would be waiting to hear what's next because it's been amazing. Yes, so I think we are done now. We have had the advice, we have had the knowledge. We are more enlightened now. And all I can say is that let's all not forget, let's all read extensively as Ms. Fusua told us, so that we could even know much more about what we have come to learn from here. So please have a good evening, have a great weekend. Yes. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.